What's up, guys? David here, and welcome to another live guest interview. Today, we've got Ollie Mell all the way from Wolfpack Fitness, Cheshire, and we're going to talk about kind of the COVID situation, the pandemic situation, getting started right as that started, and then surviving and thriving on the opposite end. But enough of me explaining. Ollie, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, my pleasure, man.
No worries, no worries. So the first question we always ask everybody is, how is the weather with you?
It's raining.
It's raining.
Yeah. We had I did the Tough Mudder Northwest yesterday, and we had pretty much dry weather the whole way through, and it's making up for it today by just throwing it down.
But surely something like a Tough Mudder is a little bit better when it's a little bit wet, no?
Yeah, it would have been a little bit better actually. Like when we got halfway around it, we were kind of thinking a little bit of rain now might actually help in between the obstacles. But yeah, it was wet enough.
Nice. Okay, so before we dive into it, let's start with a proper serious question then. What got you into the fitness industry?
Oh, God, I've been in fitness since professionally since 2002, 2003, really. I was always into sports, but always into kind of different sports as a kid. So I grew up playing basketball probably twice a day, every day until I was about 15, 16. And that was my main sport. But as you get older, it becomes obvious, as you stop progressing up the talent level and the structure in this country, I started looking at coaching. So I coached my basketball team at university for a few years. I was always kind of with that. As soon as I started coaching, I was always kind of interested in getting players fit enough that were good enough, if that kind of made sense. I got into Taekwondo at university. I got into sort of doing part-time jobs in security at quite an early age. I was like 18, 19. So that gave me an interest in kind of like lifting weights and getting a bit bigger and a bit stronger and getting fitter. I was at university actually trying to become an actor. So I sort of again had that realization that I probably wasn't going to make it past university level and actually do much professionally work. And it's a very, very competitive field. So it became a natural thing to get into. So while I was finishing university, I qualified as a fitness instructor, got a job at LA Fitness, which was in Northwich.
Was where good old days, eh?
Yeah, old time, yeah. Long since gone. And really, to be fair, they paid for my personal training qualification, which was a good thing to jump in, which is the benefit of working for a big gym name is you kind of get those benefits. And then pretty soon after qualifying, I realized that I didn't like the structure of commercial gyms. So I became an independent trainer. And then in a nutshell, I took a break from it. So I was a personal trainer for about 4 years. I'd also had an interest in sort of military service. So I left to join the Marines. And when I came out of the Marines, I didn't really think I'd go back into the fitness industry. I had a pretty decent job teaching health and safety courses, which was a good financial sort of decision. It really helped me and my family. However, I was very, very, very quick to realize that I felt like it wasn't the right place for me, as much as the money kind of compensated it in the short term. And that kind of, with the military service, it kind of changed my view on fitness. So, and maybe because I've been involved in different sports, it was very much, I wasn't looking to open somewhere with plasma screen TVs and saunas and cafe bars. I was looking to open something a little bit more raw. So when I found the right place, I kind of thought that's where I want to set my gym. That's where I want to sort of set up shop, basically. And it's worked to the strength because we're very different products to what's on offer with other gyms, which means that you don't have the pressure of competing really with other gyms. The business market, the business model you set up can be completely different because the independent gyms these days is pretty standard. You rent yourself a sort of industrial unit, either a brand new one or an old one, and you give it that kind of like raw vibe, and you can go down a kind of CrossFitty, boxy type place, or you can go down a kind of bodybuilding, powerlifting type place, and that's kind of the two traditional kind of things. People that don't want either, but also don't want the corporate, are kind of left alone, and we find those people find us, and it tends to work really well.
Nice. Okay. So before we actually explain what it is that you were doing, then you started this, you said January 2019, literally just before. So I'm guessing you were all excited going into the new year with this kind of new setup and a load of new people coming in and everything.
And COVID, at that time, COVID was this not random, but this obscure thing in China that people were a little bit worried about, but it was kind of like a joke in a pub at that point, and we hadn't got a clue what was, like, nobody had a clue really what was coming. So I got the place, I started renting the place, and I'd saved up enough to basically quit my day job so I could full 100% jump in. And I was renting the place in August of 2018, which is when I sort of spent the time building it up, and literally, physically building the gym. We had to build our own buildings. We had to basically start up a complete blank canvas. Build the Assault course. We wanted to open in the December, so we're kind of ready for January's big rush. Few things, like everything. I mean, I didn't have a clue really physically what I was doing building. I wasn't a builder. I had somebody doing it with me for me. But it always becomes more expensive. It always pushes late. So we opened late. So we opened kind of early to mid-January. And I was very worried that all the new January in-tests would all be assigned to other gyms, and they'd all joined up. But we started building a bit of momentum straight away, really, with the Assault course and the outdoor boot camps. I think there again, people were kind of at that time, as COVID was sort of landing, people were talking about outdoors versus indoors a little bit. But yeah, 3 months or less than 3 months later, we were shut down in the first lockdown.
So what was the mindset kind of opening this business then, with this kind of in the background? Was it just like, COVID, nothing, it would be nothing, we'd be fine? Or were you actually making backup plans and kind of other things to make sure just in case?
No, I didn't really have a backup plan. I had gone all or nothing with it. I mean, I kept my qualifications, so I knew that with the money in teaching health and safety courses, once you get sort of NEBOSH certified and IOSH certified, the demand for it is always there. So in the back of your head, I probably wouldn't have gone back to being employed by a company to teach the courses with the pay structure that I had. But I was able to go and do courses freelance that kind of help prop up. And I've been doing that. If somebody offers me enough of a deal to go and do it for 2 days, I'd still go and do a 2 or 3 day course for a favor for a friend, or if the price is right. But I was certainly having to lean on that while the business was opening. But I didn't think in my head, it wasn't like I was thinking, oh, COVID's coming, let's build an outdoor gym. I just much preferred doing my exercise outdoors, and I much preferred building something that was very sort of me. And if you want to see a lot of people I found when I started talking to them about what they want and what they don't want in a gym, is they don't tend to, the typical person who comes to our place, they come to our place because they don't really feel like they fit in the gyms that are around this area, which isn't to say that those gyms aren't doing a good job or they're not a good gym to go to. It's just really about, I didn't realize as I started talking to people how insecure people, particularly females, can feel about being in a gym. And it was only when people started coming to me and saying, oh, it's amazing, there's no groups of lads lifting heavy weights in the corner. And to be perfectly honest, if you're in my area, there's much better gyms to go and do that in that I can't compete with again. So it was never my intention to do it. But I've always liked sort of being in the mud, running around, lifting stuff, throwing stuff. The kettlebells was also a huge part of it. I wanted basically a strong enough, sturdy enough place to do the classes there. And at that time, I was kind of integrated into the England team, and I was coaching a few people online, and I was starting, I kind of knew the kettlebell classes I was teaching at other gyms were getting pretty big. So I wanted a centre for it, which is why we've got one big indoor building, which is kind of basically catered for that, essentially. But I was much more interested in giving people what I wanted if I was looking to join a gym.
Nice. So I want to take you back a few steps then.
Yeah.
You kind of realized the security, the teaching of it wasn't your thing,
Yeah.
and you making that decision to take the plunge. There could be loads of people watching this right now or further down the line who are in that situation
Yeah.
where the job that they're in, it just doesn't match their themselves, their future, their beliefs, and they're just scared. They're
Yeah. I
unsure.
was for
They're not
years.
sure how to do it. Why did you know that now was the right time, and what kind of advice would you give on that?
To be honest, it had to do with like family factors as well. So my fiance is a critical care nurse, and we got 2 small kids, and they were coming to my eldest was coming into school age, and the company, because of the fair amount of money the company was giving you to go and do these courses, they did really kind of want your blood and your soul to in return for it. So when my daughter started going to school and my partner started doing shifts for the NHS, with the way the timetables works, there's no way I could turn up. I mean, I was in the office at 7:30 in the morning getting things ready, pretty much Monday to Friday. So there's no way I could have kept that structure going. So it was kind of a case where I've got to change my job anyway. Yeah, it's a certain part of like now or never to really jump in and do it. But to people that are watching over it, you can turn around now and say, well, we're not going to open a gym now because I see gyms are closing. It's not the right time. We're not going to do it now because there's a recession coming into. We don't know where we're going to be finances. Once that clears, you'll find another excuse to not do it. Just like if you own your gym and you're talking to a prospective client and they want to come and join your gym, and they go, oh, I just want to wait till Christmas is out the way. I'll get Christmas out the way and then I'll join. Or they go, oh, I was going to come this week, but I need to wait because now we decided we're going to save up for a holiday, so we don't know if we can. You get those people that they're interested, but again, psychologically, they've not committed to it. So if my advice is always to go and try it. I've always been that person, but given the choice, I'm not scared to turn around and say I opened my gym and 5 years later it failed, which we don't. We're around the 5-year mark-ish. We're getting close to it, but you don't know what's going to happen in the future. But I've always been perfectly happy to try something and fail it. Is always, in my eyes, better than to not try it. So instead of being Mr. Optimism and saying, yeah, go and open your own gym, if you don't have the money to do it, you're gonna struggle. If you haven't done your homework and realize what's out there and realize how much the gym down the road from you, how many members they need to break even, how many what things they have to do to actually afford the kit, whether they own the kit or rent the kit, all of those things. Raw optimism alone won't do it. So you need to kind of taking the plunge. You need to take the plunge in the right way, or you're gonna struggle. And there's a lot of people I know that they get to sink or swim and they didn't swim. So for every independent gym owner that's a success story, you need to know when you're telling other people to go and do it that there are people who open gyms that didn't last. And it's not only a sign of the times. It's always, if you go back into starting your own business and trying to do something independent, whether it's a cafe bar or like your own little restaurant or shop or anything like that, it's all the same problems and questions, really.
Yeah, from the people we've spoken to who have done this type of thing, they've always said either something's happened and that's been the perfect time to do it, or they just have that little bit of a security blanket. There's something there. They've got 3 months of worth of rent and wages.
Yeah. I mean, I did
be on the safe side.
I did put the work in to have the funds to start it up, and that's something that needs. I mean, the other thing that I knew when I found the place, and this was really one of the key things, is finding that venue was perfect for me. So basically, a farm plot that had been abandoned and disused for ages was up for rent, and I literally saw it on Facebook. The landlord lived abroad, so as long as he got his rent coming in, and the rent was really cheap. mainly because it had been left alone. It was, a slightly worse state of kind of affairs than taking over. There was no toilet. We had to put tanks in there and everything. So because I was willing to do work, and he got his rent, and he wasn't there to bother me, we kind of just got left to it, and that was ideal. And the major thing that made this work, particularly with the lockdown, was we were able to do it on a complete shoestring budget, because it wasn't a place. There's no treadmill in my gym. There's not one. So the most expensive piece of kit, really, probably the kettlebell collection that I already had, because I was training with them so much and I was doing classes with them, so I didn't have to buy that outright. Building the assault course didn't essentially cost much, but if your gym focuses around rope climbs, tire flips, hammers, and kettlebells, it's not that hard in the neighboring farms to find a lot of tractor tires. It's not that hard to get hold of enough hammers. So it wasn't like my setup, and my setup worked. If you were in an urban area and you were doing a shop window gym, you're going to try and do that on a shoestring budget, you're going to have problems straight away, because people will walk past it and think it looks like run down. My gym looks kind of exactly how you would want. If you want to walk in and feel like Rocky for an hour, my gym looks exactly like you would expect to have that ethos, which is why we had quite a lot of martial arts schools renting our place off, because the kids love coming in and the instructors flipping tires and having a punch bag on his shoulder and running down the gate and carrying big, we've got telephone logs cut up and they're carrying them down. And that's the atmosphere that fits the place. It really worked to my advantage, because it was literally, you were buying fitness kit for the ones I did buy for weights benches and stuff. I got that all secondhand before the lockdown, really, when people were just flogging it away. Lockdown came up and it became the most expensive commodity in the world. But then afterwards, kind of thought that would happen. Everybody, 6 months after the second lockdown, that piece of kit that's been left in your garage that your missus keeps nagging you, turns up on Facebook Marketplace again at a fraction of the price. So I knew financially my plan had some advantages, because you could fit a shoestring budget with it.
Nice. Okay. So you were one of the lucky ones that went through lockdown and survived. If we could do lockdown again and know you were going to survive,
I don't know if I even dare to.
What changes or what's different things would you do this time to survive even better?
Personally or business-wise?
Business-wise, if we just focus just on the business.
Yeah. I really struggled the first lockdown, mainly because they're both but mainly the business stress, because we had no idea how long it was going to go for.
Yeah.
Now going into the second lockdown, what I did was I knew that second lockdown was coming, and I was talking to people in businesses, and some businesses were kind of like, we made it, go party, do this, do that, invest in your company, invest in your business to start making money again. And in my head, I was thinking, this is just going to come back round. So I started saving when we were allowed to open and we were making money. And again, money came in a lot quicker because there was such an emphasis on being outdoors. Yeah. So we had that great weather, things started to open up pretty much locally. We had a big head start on any of the gyms. A lot of trainers from other gyms, once they realized they could PT clients at my gym, for very low rent, without having to go to a car park or a park where with all their kit, because the kit was there. It really helped get income in. That then, instead of spending that income on updating the showers or getting more kit or TV ads or things like that, I literally just sat on it, because I kind of figured in my head, if you think we're not going to cycle through lockdowns, so I would probably say I would have saved more for the first one if I knew it was coming. I would have probably, not entirely sure. Opening 2 months before lockdown is not the best thing to do it, but I don't think in that context you can really say that those what ifs going back. Certainly, I would have sat on a bigger pot of cash if I could have done just to ride it out.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's key for any business, really. Always try to have 3 months worth of operating cash always in the bank just to be on the safe side. Okay, so let's go into the last two big things that you've talked about so far. Talking and listening to clients, how important and how key has that been to the actual growth of your client base?
Yeah, pretty important. Like I haven't, I've got a pretty good client retention, and I get a pretty good. You have to excuse me. I think World War III is happening in a room next to me with poorly kids. So if you hear screams or anything, um, yeah. So I've got a pretty good client retention, and I've got a pretty good. What I say is one of the biggest markers that your business is going well is how much your word of mouth builds your business.
Yeah.
So we have, and the other real good thing about that strategically is, as long as you can keep members happy, is it's very easy to build a good community in your gym when people are bringing their friends in and their friends are making friends with someone else's friend. So we did that pretty well. Listening to them, I mean, I did do for the first few years, I did do committees at the end of the year where gym members could come and talk about things. And I do put things like, I'll say, I've got a budget of X amount for this kit. I'll ask the trainers that rent my space what kit they think we should invest. I'll ask the gym members what we should invest, and I'll go and get that piece of kit. So I've done that with things like leg presses. I've done that with things like additional row machines. I've done that with things like classes. Like I've asked people what classes people want, and I've literally just got them found the instructors and got those classes going. So I think that is vital, but you've got to have, if you ask your people what they want and they say something that's ridiculous, it's not going to fit. You're going to have to say, well, no, I can't really put some hot tubs in a karaoke bar in my gym as much as you like that. So my gym would actually love that. But I think what happened is, if your gym attracts the people you want it to attract, they're going to be happy with what you're doing anyway.
Mm.
And so that's where we found quite a lot of success in what we've done well is the gym brings in people that want, they come to me. A big one I get asked for is the assault course and the outdoor boot camp. So we do one boot camp on a Friday at 6, and it's for one class on the assault course. Obviously, we keep outdoors all year round. So it doesn't matter if it's snowing, it doesn't matter if it's, even when we have that extreme heat and it's like 30 degrees plus, we still did that boot camp outdoors, no matter what. And I get a lot of people that come and they ask me, and their first inquiry is about the boot camp or about my kettlebell club if they're looking to get into kettlebell sports, or about the assault course. Now, because they're not really things you're going to find at any other gym, and the other huge advantage about doing an outdoor boot camp in my gym is you've not driven to a park for it. So you can't really, like a lot of people, they don't like the idea of doing boot camps in parks because people walking by can heckle them, and no one wants, you're doing sit-ups and like a group of kids are playing next to you or something. So you don't have that. Also, you've got toilet facilities right there. So you're an outdoor boot camp, but you've also got showers, changing rooms, and a toilet, and you've got such more kit. You've got more kit for me and my instructors to work with and what's just in the back of your car. So if you're doing a boot camp in your car, let's say you do boot camp in a park, you rock up in your car and you might have like some steps, maybe some medicine balls, skipping ropes, some weights, maybe a kettlebell. You might have a park bench. They can do some stuff, but you're limited to that type of scenario, which isn't good. You can get like great workouts done, but imagine the creativity you can have during that environment where we can literally grab a row machine, put it out into the AstroTurf, and we do workouts where they've got to do 2,000 calories on the row machine in groups, and then you have stations around. It gives you so much more to play with when you have that access. So I've veered slightly away from your question for other people that are thinking about this. If you don't listen to your members, you're going to start losing members. But also, it's a big red flag if all your members are asking you for stuff that's completely off track to where you see your gym being. So if that's happening, then you've got to think about, and this is where you kind of think it gets a bit vague, but I think it's actually valid. You've got to think about what you're producing in terms of a culture of your gym. which is something that I think has been the best success of the Wolfpack. Is, you know, people literally have made some great friends at that place that they now go out socializing with. And they've done it from the gym. Like the Tough Mudder we did wasn't full of 20-year-old guys trying to get personal bests. It was predominantly girls who wanted to go in a group and support each other getting through the mud. And then they went out afterwards and we all had like a meal in a pub together. And it was great. So if you can produce that, you'll have happy people anyway. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be listening to what they think can make the place better.
We've asked clients a number of times what improvements they would like at our studio, and hot tub has popped up quite a few times as well. It's like, oh, I'd love to get one, but digging a hole in the floor. I don't think the landlord's going to be too happy about that.
Yeah, you can start with an ice bath. Be a bit like that. Yeah.
But no, community is a huge aspect of it as well. Like, once you can build that tight-knit family community, nobody wants to leave because they feel like they're leaving their friends, or they're leaving and they're going to miss out. Okay, let's go to the last question then, because all we do is talk about lead gen all the time. What are your 3 main lead gen methods to get people into your fitness business?
Okay, so again, this might not be the answer everybody wants to hear, but it's complete honesty. Okay, number one most important for me is word of mouth. The town that we're in, there's about 10,000 people. As many people that I've gone out to, you know, I do invest in not really marketing, but I do invest my time in social media engagement on local streets. That's been very effective, really, up until about a year ago. And then from word of mouth massively taken over. The other one is, really, to be perfectly honest, it's engaging with clubs and activities. So we had a Clubbersize. So we've had Clubbersize and Rockbox companies rent my space. We've got jiu-jitsu teams, kickboxing teams. We're now doing deals with local football clubs, particularly local like ladies football clubs, to offer their facilities. These people bring in, particularly if they're doing kids classes as well, these people are bringing in sort of 15 to 20 people that aren't gym members. And everybody is done away, but to get to the gym, you basically got to walk past the assault course. So the first time you ever walk up here, you see the ropes to climb, you see the dunking tank, you see all of this stuff. The parents then start chatting to you. They start talking to their friends, and before you know it, the amount of people who come to me and go, "Oh, my mate's kid does for kickboxing here, and he loves this place," and then he looks around and I go, "Well, if you're here and you're bringing your kid, you might as well come and do a workout." And then it starts, and that kind of builds it on its own. So number one, most importantly, word of mouth. Number two, social media engagement. However, that has tailed down in the last year. I don't know if it's something to do with the way, I think, Facebook structures or the way they kind of have changed in regards to putting emphasis on sponsored and getting you to pay for your posts and for your publishing. Advertisement in news groups would probably be my third one. Like going to news outlets would be, probably be my third one. One thing that always happens to us. So I go and compete internationally in kettlebells, and I go and compete nationally in them. So not a lot of people know there's a sport as well as sort of what you traditionally train with them. So we normally get quite a good bit of local media attention every time there's a big competition and we win. We've now got sort of 20 people from the gym that go and compete sort of nationally, and a fair few of them now qualified for like their first or second even world championships. Every time we do that, we end up in the local news articles, we end up on quite a few different platforms, and that really kickstarts a whole load of inquiries and suggestions. So if you can find ways to celebrate what you guys, or what you achieve, what you might have achieved as an athlete as well as a business owner, or what your gym members have achieved. If you can find a way to get news attention from that tends to really, almost like injection boosts, it kind of tends to really give you a little turbo boost, but it does subside because you need to keep it current and you need to be constantly kind of making those noises.
Okay, so I was going to finish there, but now you've talked about newspaper and getting into the news and this type of stuff. A lot of people are going to be thinking, damn, how do I do it? How do I get into the local news and newspapers? How did you do
it? how did I do it? How would I recommend other people do it?
Yeah, both.
Yeah. So I did it basically. So this is again, and again, some of it's about nature of sport. So I qualified as a professional lifter, which is a little bit like for these competitions, the way the sport works. I earned a certain sort of rank and the weights I could lift and the reps I could lift in the sport, which gave you a qualification. And it's one that there's a very few people going to have it, and then you get to compete in quote quotes as a professional. There's no money in it, but you're ranked class professional, and you only compete with other professionals. So took me, and I've been training and competing with them for nearly 10 years now, and it took me to 2019 to get that professional ranking, and then I was competing in all the amateur world championships and to winning like fairly consistently. When I got my first bronze as a professional lifter in 2019 in Poland, again, it was in November. November before the lockdown came. And that I went and took it I just went and messaged local online news platforms. Just said, would you be interested in running the story? It was a picture of me on a podium getting a medal and like a minute's clip of the actual competition footage. And they went, yeah, great. And so that's the route I did. And then I said, I'll let you know how I get along. I'm qualifying for this next one. And then when I qualified for it, I sent them it and they published it again and it had a nice boost. And then when I got people from my gym wearing a Wolfpack hoodie going to competitions, I was did a story about how the sport's growing, blah blah blah, and that did really well. There's pictures of people more than just me, and then as you went to bigger competitions and there's pictures of you as a crowd, it's more interest. So that's how I did it. You can do it with anything. We had some stuff. We had a guy who he did a charity trot pull for something to do with, I can't remember the actual name of the charity, but to do with helping funding for autism. And that got a load of attention. And then he's injured himself, he's injured his knee, he's had to have an op, but he's trained to go and do that. And each time he goes and do it, you do a bit bigger and a bit better. You can do it with raising money for fun runs. You can do it with doing marathons, training people up for it. And then, the public interest platforms for these news outlets, your local level news outlets, radio, they're all looking for people to have success stories. So you don't have to become a world champion. Like the bigger the claim, the better the punch of the punchline will be for it, or the title will be for it. But if it's that your gym helped to raise a few £100s for a charity, if it's that you've got someone at a certain age becomes one of the oldest people to run a half marathon or a marathon or something like that, those are the things that people take attention in. If you invest and I know one gym, one of my friends, and it's quite good when you're not seeing yourself as competition, because you can chat and you can talk and give people advice. But I've got a friend who he went to refurbish his gym, and he invested a lot of money in it. I was like, yeah, that's newsworthy. You should go down there. And you've spent X many £1,000s on your kit. That's a story that people will publish. He published that, and it did him a great thing. If you get that hot tub in your gym, that's that's that type of stuff. And because these guys, they're again, people are so engaged online now, and they scroll. There's a lot of pressure on these outlets to continually come up with stuff. So you might think, oh, no one cares that I painted my changing rooms yellow. But if I need something and you've got it at the right time, then you'd be surprised what you can start to get the media attention from. And the more regularity you can do it with, the more you become when people talk about gyms. Oh yeah, remember that guy was in the papers for that, or that gym was in the paper for that. So yeah, you can do it with pretty much anything that generally has a level of interest.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's the key thing for most people. The ideas there, they're just, I don't know, a little bit nervous about executing to reach out and say, hey, come and look at what we're doing.
Yeah, I get that. But then again, like you once you're in the race, you need to do anything you can do to try and stay in the race or finish first. So once you're committed and your business is open, if you see somebody else is doing something and you don't, and it's working, and you don't have a genuine reason why you're not doing it, you need to have someone outside. Like I've got quite a good reality check. Mainly, my partner's very quick to like put me in my place and tell me if I'm not doing something right or if something's going wrong. So sometimes you can't see it, and sometimes all it takes, if you've got the right attitude to listen, is somebody else saying, you know, those guys are doing that, and that looks really good, and people are talking about it. You could do it, but you're not. And then you kind of have to put those links together and go, oh, okay. You know, again, if you go back to listening to your gym members, if the gym members turn around to you and they get like a petition that they really want this class doing, you know, you get everybody talking about it on WhatsApp, and you know they want it. If you don't do it, you've got to be kind of thinking like, why am I not doing it? So you've got to pay attention to what, particularly independent gyms, to what they're doing. Corporate gyms, I don't pay too much notice to, because it's a completely different game. You know, the manager of that gym is there to make the books look good, make the productivity chart look good, and keep the area manager happy. You know, the actual level of ability he has to make changes in a gym are really limited, and resource. So I had another phone call coming through. Yeah, so it's keeping a look at what the independent gyms around you are doing, working out whether it's, you know, right for you to do that or not. That's one of the biggest clues.
Nice. Ollie, I appreciate your time today, and there's been lots of interesting things, like you say, the free lead generation things, being specific, taking that plunge, probably lots of stuff that people here at different levels can learn from and take away from. So yeah, I appreciate it. If people are watching and quite interested either in the kettlebells or maybe how you've set up your outdoor facility, is it okay if people reach out on Facebook or something and have a chat with you?
Yeah, perfect. We've got Instagram and Facebook, platforms that we use, but it's just Wolfpack Fitness Cheshire on Facebook or Instagram.
Nice. Ollie, I appreciate your time today. I hope your daughter obviously feels better later on.
Should be fine.
But yeah, enjoy the rest of the day.
Should be right. Okay, thank you.
Speak to you later. Bye-bye.